let's have an intro.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, well, how are you? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a week and a bit, hasn't it? So, no, I'm going well. Can't complain. I think we had maybe one of the last rolls of summer here yesterday. It was 30 degrees still, but it's gone back to about 19 degrees today, which is cool for here after being 30 degrees. And so it's cooling down. Winter's on its way, I would say, but mild winter compared to yous, as we always say. But for us, it's still pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, we're approaching summer or spring. We've sort of ended the bad weather for now. So Easter's coming up, and well, actually, over Easter it's not looking that good, but we'll have 15, 20 degrees over the next week or so.
Going to be here. When is that? That's next week, isn't it? Or is it this week?
Easter is this week. This coming Thursday. It's and Friday is Good Friday. Yeah, it's.
I know. I'm not working, but I wasn't quite sure because one of the companies I work for, they take a week and a half off. So I knew I was not working this week, but I wasn't quite sure whether it was this week or next week. Shows how much I take notice. So where are we? Friday here in Australia, 24. Saturday 24, Sunday 19. So probably not too bad for people who are going away for Easter. Like a lot of people take off for a few days, but I'll be at home. So
yeah. Yeah, so to the listener, we're already recording, Mark. So to the listener, welcome to Southern Summers and Northern Winters. My name is Anders. How are you, Mark? We already I can see you're back in your shed. How's the house? Your kitchen?
Yeah, everything's nearly sorted out. Well, it is sorted out. It's all fixed. To be honest with you, I haven't put my fridge back in my kitchen yet. It's still in my lounge room, only because I'm a little bit apprehensive about trying to move it across the new vinyl floor without putting a dent or a tear or something in it. So I've sort of just left it sitting in my lounge room for now, but I will have to. I'll have to eventually try and move it. So that'll be an experience because it's a pretty big fridge, and I don't really know. I mean, I can get it to the spot. It goes into a cavity, so I can get it to that spot, but I'm not quite sure about how to push it back into the spot without possibly doing any damage to the new floor. So for now, I've just sort of left it where it is in the lounge room, and we'll get to it at some stage. But
don't you have like a neighbor who can come and help you? A strong man.
I probably do.
Yeah,
I still have to push it somehow because it's got to see, it's sort of built into this wall area. So once you certainly can't lift it because it's only about that much room between the top of the fridge and the top of the cupboard. Yeah. So it still has to slide back. So I'm debating whether to put a bit of cardboard down on the floor and sort of just put the back onto it and try and push it in that way or not. But hey, that's a challenge for another day. I'll probably just leave it there until my wife gets angry enough with it sitting there for so long and she'll say, this fridge. And I'll go, yeah, okay, we can do that. So
there are people living in houses that are literally constantly under renovation. I mean, I was talking to my mom the other day, and she said, remember we had these friends when you and your sister were little. The last bits and pieces, what do you call them? You have around the on the floor around the walls, the little lists, the little planks. It's literally just.
I think it's called. I think we call it a cornice. So,
So they were never mounted. It took like 10 years until they.
I'm a bit like that. I sort of leave things as long as I can, and like I'm not house proud. I wouldn't say our house is neat and tidy. It's fairly aged, but it's certainly not falling apart. But I'm not one who feels I need to make my house look fantastic for everyone else to think that that I'm well off, or
Yeah.
So the other day we had some more work done on the outside of the house because we live in like a detached bungalow style, I guess you'd call it over there, which is normal here in Australia. We would think that the way you guys live is probably abnormal in apartment buildings. So we live in a detached house, and so the houses are always off the ground a little bit. There's probably, I don't know, in some places my house might be 2 foot off the ground. So they're propped up by concrete poles underneath them, concrete pillars or supports. But anyway, so there's generally wood, obviously, that goes between where, the floor is and where the ground is. So there's like planks. So I think the planks have been on my house since 1969 when it was built. So they were all warped, and some were starting to fall off and cracked and split. So I had 3/4 of the house replaced with new paneling the other day. So that was just to make it look a bit tidier and things like that. So I assume if the other ones lasted for 60 years, these ones will last me out, put it that way. So, but nothing's ever cheap. Like, that was another $1,500 quickly spent.
That's just calling a handyman is expensive, and I agree completely with you. As long as you yourself feel at home and feel comfortable in your home, who cares what other people think? It's really just And you would much rather spend your money on travels, booking airfares and stuff.
I often say to Rebecca, if it doesn't look that good on the outside and we're not home, people won't want to break into it, will they?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. All these houses, where you think, oh, look at my house, and it looks fancy, and huge driveway and all this. That's where the burglars would go in at first, wouldn't they?
That is dead right. So speaking of travel, this morning I was watching the US Masters golf. I like golf. I used to play a lot of golf. I have some fond memories or unfond memories from watching the US Masters golf of Greg Norman getting beaten many a time there in the last round. He was like my sporting idol as a kid. So which led me to think about, where would I like to travel? What sporting events would I like to go and travel to see?
Yeah.
So I sat there thinking about, maybe 5 that I think I would really, really like to see. The US Masters obviously is one, which was what I was watching this morning, because I think it's probably the most well-known golf event in the world, and seemingly everyone wants to win it, like they do with these sort of things. And secondly, I think I would. I'd like to go see WrestleMania. I don't know if WWF is really considered a sport, but it's an event, I guess, of some description. So that would be the second thing, because once again, I used to watch a lot of wrestling as a child. Which is that
a big thing in Australia? Is wrestling? Because I know in the US it's a huge thing.
Not so much now, but it used to be. Like, I get a love of wrestling from my mum. She loved wrestling, and she used to tell me about days where they used to go to, before me, to the wrestling in Melbourne, and people like Andre the Giant used to come out all the time, frequently, and, some other really famous wrestlers back in the day called Killer Kowalski and all these other people that were around. So they used to go to this place called Festival Hall, which is, I don't know if it's still there, but it was a concert hall. Metallica actually played their way back in the 80s. So at Festival Hall. So that's where I think I got my like of wrestling from. I don't watch too much of it now, even though it's on TV now, seemingly more than ever in Australia. Like, it's on Netflix. So they have 2 or 3 live events each week on Netflix here from WWE. But I don't say I watch it too often. So, but I would really like to go see WrestleMania, I think. Number 3 on my list of things I'd like to go see the Italian GP, because I think the Ferrari fans would be absolutely crazy at the F1 in Italy. That would be one I would really like to see as well. What else would I like to see? Number 4 on my list would be the Olympics. I'd like to go see the 100-meter dash.
Yeah.
The 100-meter sprint would be good, I think.
Like in the stadium, in the main stadium where they're around
in the main stadium.
Yeah.
Yep. 100-meter final where the blokes are, let's go, prancing up and down. I reckon that would be that'd be another really good one to see, I think. And and I would like to go and see Manchester United play someone. So that would be my wish list. I've never actually travelled anywhere to actually go see sport like this, to go and see sport. I've been to Bundesliga when I've been in Germany.
Yeah.
I've been to Rugby Super League Grand Final in England, but as this, to go and travel somewhere to a sporting event, that's not something I've ever done. I probably never will do it, actually, because I don't watch as much sport now as what I once did, but it's another aspect of travel that's big for some people. Like, I know I've got a friend and he goes to a lot of cricket tours. They go to England to watch Australia versus England play cricket and things like this on sport tours and things like that. So, it's probably an interesting concept that's probably bigger than most of us think. But,
absolutely. But the thing is,
don't actually do it.
The thing is, you have to really be into a certain type of sports to actually spend that much money on, because one thing is going there, another thing is actually, I know I live in Munich, we've got the Bayern München, the football team, which is one of the best soccer teams in the world, and people come from all over the world to actually see them, and they spend easily €200-300. I don't think that'll even cover it. €300 ticket just to be, sitting there. And on top of that, you have to actually go there, and you have to book accommodation. You have to,
definitely.
So it's an expensive thing, and often it's not very family friendly. So it will typically be the husband or the wife going alone with buddies. So on top of that, you would actually have to set aside that amount of money just for one person in the household to go and travel and see that. So,
it's crazy, isn't it?
It is. It is. But speaking of football, Bundesliga, we had in one of the biggest construction fairs in the world with construction building machines and cranes and all, was last week in Munich, and it's an annual thing. And so on Friday there were also a local football match with Bayern München. I think it was Stuttgart they played against. So it was a bit of a top match in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
So all the city was literally packed with construction workers on the fair on the and then football fans and it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy weekend, but good for business, I guess.
Well,
yeah,
this is it. Many years ago when I was in Munich, like, is 1860 Munich, are they still play, or are they, what division are they?
They still play.
They're
in the second or third division, but they are just around the corner from where we live. So actually the two main teams in Munich are actually from the same area of Munich where we live here. Yeah. So, but 1860, they have their training facilities and their stadium not far from where we live. And then FC Bayern München, they have their training facilities and headquarters also literally just around the corner from where we live, but their main stadium is just outside the city, just along Allianz Arena, just around the just along the highway. So it's in the other end of the city. Yeah, but 1860, they're still playing. It's more like
a strong supporter base.
They have a strong supporting community, I would say. It's mostly what do you call a working man's club? I mean,
Yeah.
they have a very strong foundation with the working class. It's not to sound snobbish or anything. It's just the way it is.
No, not at all.
It's just the way it is. And they are really, even in bad times for a football team. And 1860 has really gone through bad times and also financial struggles, but their fan base was always very, very loyal, and I find it very fascinating.
Because they were in the Bundesliga at one stage, in the middle of the, early 2000s or something like that, maybe, or even later. Right?
Yeah, correct.
I only know this because there was an Australian who used to play for them at once upon a time, and I'm always fascinated when Australians play international sports, in Europe and things like that. So that was one of the few reasons why I knew who 1860 actually were.
True. Because people normally think of Munich as with Bayern München, well, there are other. It's a huge football city in many of them, not just the big ones. There are many smaller clubs. The club communities, the communities that builds around the smaller clubs are very important, also for local communities.
Yeah, they should be that way.
Have you seen the?
It's a bit sad. I don't know. I'm not going to. No, it's not sad. It's good. It's good to have a club community. The only thing I don't really get on in soccer is that the same teams win all the time in football. He has the most money wins, and I mean, how can you be surprised if Bayern win 9 out of 10 years? Because that's pretty much what's going to happen. There's an abnormally maybe once, like last year. But as the general term, they're going to win nearly every year.
Yeah,
so,
because it's expected, and because the top players get a huge salary, so it's expected.
Yeah, that's it,
and that makes it boring. Frankly, I agree. Yeah,
realistically, realistically, it's right. I mean, I guess at least in England, there's probably 3 or 4 teams that are in it. Most years. I mean, maybe Manchester City have won it 3 out of the last 4 years, but there's always so it seems to be a few more in it sometimes, but Spain's the same, I guess. There's only really Barca and Madrid that win, but it's like that in most leagues, I guess. There's, in France, there's PSG pretty much all the time. So the same sort of.
They have a lot of money at PSG. They aren't they owned by a Saudi prince or something, I think.
I think they're owned by Qatari Wealth Fund or something like that. But nearly all of them are. Man City's owned by the guy who owns Emirates, some sheikh in the UAE, which I think they just buy them as a toy, much like the Saudis do these days with golf and tennis and football and whatever they want to buy.
I think in general with sports, I mean, when you put that much money into it, I can understand it can help create talent and develop talent. Absolutely. I know that costs a lot of money, but it has to be a balance. I mean, you can't just have a few teams where it's completely out of reach for anyone else. A couple of years back, they started talking about having a league, an international football league with just, I think, the 10 most
Super League,
the biggest one.
Super
And it's
League,
just it's just way out of league for anyone, and particularly for the youth talent mass. It's just. Yeah. It's just a matter of who has the most money, and that makes it very, very boring. Also, do not forget that speaking of traveling and going to these events, ticket prices went up. It was really only for business people to network, to sit in the VIP lounges, and ticket prices were way out of reach for the working class communities who used to be the foundation of each club. I mean,
definitely.
So
definitely,
yeah. So that's
much the same everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah,
no matter what
really.
Sport or you go to, it's all hundreds and hundreds of dollars to attend. Unless you unless you attend on the first day or the practice day, you know, things like that. I know, like the Australian GP, I think it's like $300 to go on the Sunday or something like that, like on the actual race day.
Yeah.
And the things with going to a GP, I've never been to one, but you're sitting in the one spot, all you're seeing is a car go, like you're not actually seeing them go right around. You're seeing sort of like that, and they're gone, aren't they? Like,
usually the best seats are at home on the couch anyway. You know?
Yeah, well, you get the best view, don't you? And it's cheaper.
But you go there to the event for the atmosphere. That's sort of the thing.
Well, you do.
Yeah.
You do.
Speaking of traveling to events, because Easter's coming up, and in Rome, I mean, Easter is a huge thing to go to the Peter's Church and hearing the Pope speak from the Vatican. Have you ever been to one of these religious festivities anywhere?
No, I have not. Is the Pope actually speaking this year, or is he still too sick? Or is
I think because the past two Sundays he's actually been rolled out to his balcony.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's in recovery. No. He's getting better. Yeah.
Okay. No, I've never been to any big religious. I've been to the Vatican. I've been to Vatican City and the Vatican Museum.
Me too. Yeah,
but no, I don't think the Pope may not have been in residence the day I was there. So
no, but
actually, that was a horrible experience. Really, like, have you been to the Vatican Museum? Have you been to the Sistine Chapel? And
yes,
the amount of people that they just jam in there was absolutely crazy. It was like standing like this, looking at the roof, looking at Michelangelo's friggin' roof and whatever.
Yeah,
and, like you can't move, like, you know. So,
and it was a little bit. I wouldn't say disappointing, but it was because obviously the Peter's Church is huge, but the little chapel.
Yeah.
Well, I say the little chapel, but the chapel seems little in comparison to everything else. So once you get in there and you're sort of pushed through, you can't stay too long, and you can't sit down.
No,
it's just, it was a little bit, sorry to say, a little bit disappointing.
yeah. Well, this is it, because you don't have time to appreciate it, can you? This is the thing. Like, it's the same with a lot of places these days with. You know, we've talked about this before with overcrowding and over-tourism and mass tourism in places, you know, that, you know, you'd certainly like to take some time at some places to take it in, but
exactly.
You can't.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. Because
the organisers want to push you through, and you can't, because your fellow thousands of men around you, you know, and people are, you know, forcing the experience to be, you know, less than something you would like. And I'm a big fan of getting up really early if I'm in a city somewhere or anywhere, just to go and be places by myself, I guess. You know, Rome I did. I went to the Trevi Fountain and the Colosseum and things at like 6:30 in the morning, just to walk around and have a look while there was no one there, you know.
Usually the best time. Yeah, I agree.
Been to Sacré-Cœur and the Eiffel Tower early in the morning when no one's around. You know, like I said, I went on the Great Wall when there was no one on there. So things I can only really enjoy it really early in the morning, I guess, when there's no one around. I think a lot of that too is because I live in a small town. So I come from a town that's got 5,000 people. So there's not a lot of people around at the best of times where I live. And then if I go to, you know, you go to a city of like 10 million or 15 million, there's people, you know, you can't move.
Exactly. I saw
it's overwhelming at times.
An interesting, speaking of moving crowds through events, I was watching an interesting video on people going to Mecca. That is a huge event. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking millions.
They circle the Black Stone. Isn't the
Black
they
Stone do. Yeah. And also the entire, I mean, I think 100 kilometers circle around is just literally filled with, you know, hotels and then tents for temporary accommodation. And you know, having all these people coming to go there, and this is a huge religious event.
Definitely.
It was fascinating. It was absolutely fascinating, and they say every Muslim must go once in their life,
Go
right?
once, yeah, in
Yeah,
their
yeah,
life.
yeah,
Yeah, I've seen like I think I watched a show on like where they hire like Airbus A380s, you know, from certain countries and certain
yeah.
religious, you know, like from Indonesia. I think I've seen this. Like it must have been some church or something, you know, hired, you know, privately hired, you know, yeah, an A380 or something like this for everyone to, you know, fly off to Mecca in and things like this. Like, yeah, it's it'd be an expense for sure, you know.
Absolutely.
But
I'm also fascinated with the because I don't feel as strong about anything, really. You know, I do, but not in terms of religion that I would actually go spend that. I mean, dedicate so much resource to go but it must be. I mean, it's not disrespectful in meaning in any way. It's just because it must be comforting for those people to actually
yeah,
feel that dedication to
the
something.
attachment.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
absolutely. I can actually admire that and appreciate that. I don't feel it myself, but because
You know, and much like what you said there, you know, I've been to a lot of churches, you know, where I've just sort of walked in and sat down and you know, left going, well, I don't really know why people go. Like,
yeah,
you know, I'd be happier if I felt some, you know,
yeah,
pull towards,
yeah.
you know, God or some sort of, you know, extraordinary feeling that I wasn't feeling before I went in there. But I can't say it's ever struck me
No, me
in
neither.
the amount of different places I've
No.
been, you know.
But I had a religion teacher in high school, and she's because we had many different religions that we talked about during these classes, and she said, you know, it must be, and she felt just like me. She said, I don't feel it, but it must be nice to have that consolidate that what do you call that consolation, everyday
Yeah,
consolation in something that
yeah,
you can
you can
feel, you know,
rely on.
God is
Yeah,
with me,
I get it.
God is protecting me, and I don't think it's for anybody else to ridicule or because these people they have a companion through
Yeah,
life
they've
that
got a
you know.
devotion to
Yeah,
it, haven't they?
absolutely.
Like, I
Yeah,
don't know. I sort of deal in facts, and you know, there's no one can, you know, even literally prove, I guess,
yeah.
that he was around literally. Like, you know, it's you just sort of go yeah. But still, there's been some good churches and some lots of stuff that you know that have dealt with you know religion over the times that
Oh
have made a lot
yeah.
of people happy, I guess, and brought happiness to their lives. I'm not one of them. I mean, I don't feel no sadness either that I'm not connected to you know to religion. I don't feel like I'm missing anything in life. But you know, hey, for some people they do. Like I think from an outside view, I think a lot of people find God when they're in times of trouble because they
Yeah,
need something to believe.
exactly. They need an
If you're not
explanation
really in
to.
trouble, you've been in a deep trouble, or you know, there's no real reason to, you know, you
Yeah,
don't find that possibly. You know,
yeah.
I had a friend who went to jail once, and he found God in jail because he needed something, but when he left jail, it sort of all faded away because that
Oh
was what he needed at that stage to get him through the you know the period that he was incarcerated for. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's typically something where you need some explanation probably to
yeah.
explain if you've been through like traumatic experiences or something like that. It's God's will or whatever. It's you know, people use these religious symbols or religious thoughts to sort of explain things that they cannot otherwise explain. I think that's why religion has been way before we had science. I think they used religion to explain a lot of these things, you know, that you couldn't otherwise explain.
I think religion's on the wane though. Like I don't think there's as many people in Australia that are religious. I know any young people that go to church. Well, I'm not young, but I don't know anyone I don't know anyone my age that actually goes to church. Like, I mean, I'm sure there is people out there, and the churches are full, but yeah, I
Yeah.
just sort of, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying maybe it's not as popular as it once was. Was it ever really popular? Like, this is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is it less popular than ever? Like,
Yeah. There are religious communities here in Germany that see an uprising because in this chaotic day and age,
times. Yeah.
you sort of need something to hold on to, yeah. So it does exist, but yeah, I hear you. It's I think probably our age, Mark. We're just less religious, maybe, because we sort of grew up in 70s and 80s where it just wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
this was it, wasn't it? It just wasn't. Yeah. Well, yeah. I've got no religious back anyway. So,
No.
hey, how long until you go to Italy? When's that
We
on?
are going to Italy in exactly 2 months. So
2 months?
2 months we're going to Tuscany, yes, and we will see the areas around Lucca and Pisa, and yeah. That's one of the things about going back to a place where you've been several times before. I mean, I know Tuscany, but one of the things that really that are really good about it is you could I think we've touched base on this before. You can sort of come back more relaxed. You don't feel like missing out if there are things that you don't get to do. I mean, so we have a list of cities that we would obviously really like to see this time around, like Siena and Arezzo and Cortona. But we're going to live a few hours, at least 1.5 hours away from these cities. So we may not actually drive all the way to see them. And 1.5 hours sounds very, very little in Australian terms, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you travel,
have your espresso and your pastry first, and then
exactly.
see what the day brings.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, just to go there and just sit in a cafe, just, sipping that espresso and a pastry. That's exactly why we're going there. So we don't want to have any stress about it. But we do have a list of nice pizzerias and restaurants that we want to see. And actually, it's just about, because that's one of the things when you, and also, you mentioned this several times before, when you are in a place for a longer period of time, it's the same thing when you go back for the 10th or 15th time, which it is for me in Tuscany. You can actually just appreciate everyday life. Just, sit there and just do nothing. Just act like the locals.
Do you drink espresso? Like, is that your standard coffee, or is that just what you drink in Italy? Like,
yeah, that is an espresso is obviously not very big. It's in a small cup, and it's stronger. And I take a double espresso actually, because I'm not
as you should.
The single shot is it's not enough,
There's not enough.
No,
you have sugar in it?
No, yeah. Well, when I'm in Italy, I do, because and I also appreciate. I can actually just have an espresso as a dessert after dinner at night, because if you add sugar to it, it's like a dessert. It's just.
Well, it's a little bit bitter without a little bit of sugar in it, isn't it? Like, I drink a lot of latte, so milk based, I guess.
Yeah.
Coffee, but I don't have sugar in that. I don't generally drink sugar in my coffee. But if I have an espresso, I don't mind having an espresso.
So here's the thing: in Italy, you don't order anything with milk after 10 o'clock in the morning, because that will. Yeah. Then you're obviously a tourist.
I'd be having a lot of sweetener then, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
After 10 o'clock.
So at home, I have an espresso machine here at home as well. So I always make it like a shot in the morning, but then I add boiling water to it. That's an Americano, is what the Italians call that. Because otherwise I will have, quickly I have too many shots in the morning, and that's Yeah, I'll be running around like
You have like a proper handle machine, or do you have a pod machine that you make
I
your
have a
coffee
proper
in?
handle machine, with
Yeah.
everything, like a real Italian. It's from Milan, in fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a bit of an investment. It was for my 50th birthday. A couple of years back, I bought that for myself. People they buy when they get to my age, early 50s. They buy motorbikes or a
And
new
cars.
car or whatever.
Yeah.
I just bought an espresso machine, a proper one. It is. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that's
really,
good.
yeah. It's one of those that you have to service a little and maintain a little bit yourself as well. You
Yeah.
have to actually clean it properly every once in a while. You have
Clean the
to
wand and everything. Yeah.
exactly, and you have to send it to service. It has to be
Yeah.
serviced at least every second year. So this year is I had it serviced last year. New rubber gaskets and
Yeah.
all these
So does
things.
someone come to your house to do that, or did you have to take
No,
it
I have
somewhere?
to. I have to actually call a guy, and they come
Yeah.
and pick it up, and it's gone for a couple of weeks. So yeah,
Wow. That,
yeah.
that
So
sounds technical, doesn't it?
yeah,
Is the guy
yeah.
Italian?
No, he's actually maybe he is, but the workshop is here in Munich. No, it probably I have a friend. He's saying you can do the decalcifying and cleaning the big
Yep.
the big round. You can actually do it yourself, but I'm not that. I'm afraid I'm gonna ruin something, so I send it to the pros, and
Most definitely.
yeah. So
And
I
coffee's
live.
important, let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly, and it's a fairly expensive machine, so I don't want to ruin it by doing something stupid myself. So the everyday cleaning I can do, and we'll obviously only use filtered water because if you here in Munich we have very hard water filled with calcium. So if you just put that into the machine into the tank, it will last like 3 months. Then the machine is kaput. It'll be destroyed. So it's always filtered water, and there's a filter in the tank as well. So yeah, it's a bit complicated, but you have that everyday joy of having a really good espresso, a really good coffee.
Yeah.
And then the beans are somewhat expensive as well. I was going to say because you said that the bitterness of an espresso, it really depends on the bean and
Beans,
how it's burned, how it's roasted.
Yeah.
But and sorry if any Italians are listening, but the standard Italian beans are not really the best because it's just an industrial product. I mean, they yeah, but it's what you get in most cafes. But as I say to my wife often, I actually have the best espresso at home because I have the bean and the roasting I want, and I can make it just the way I like it, And in a cafe, you get like a standard product, more or less, right?
Yeah.
So
That's dead right.
Yeah. But one thing that's really coming up here in Munich, we have a couple of Italian cafes here in the area, is that you have like a scoop of vanilla ice, and then you pour like a boiling hot shot of espresso over it.
Yeah, the affogato.
Yeah, that's so...
Yeah, they're really popular in Australia.
Yeah.
We sell them at McDonald's here and Burger King and things like that. So, affogato, you can get them anywhere. But yeah, they're really, really good stuff. I often get that a lot in Bali when we're sitting go down the beach and sit at a nice cafe, and I, generally start off with a coffee. So I start off with a coffee with an affogato.
Yeah, it's so nice. I mean, it's really because that's when you have that sweetener to the bitter coffee, right?
Yeah.
So but apart from that, I'm not really a big fan of like the cold coffee shakes and drinks. I mean, it's coffee is for me to be enjoyed hot. I mean, yeah. But have you seen in Italy? You have been to Italy, or have you not?
I have been to Italy, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You've been to Rome, yeah. But the thing is, Italians themselves, they go into the espresso bars, and they order like a shot of espresso, and then they toss it down, and then they leave again. So and these, because a shot of espresso is to be enjoyed like immediately after it's been made. I mean, you can't leave it for minutes. Even after a few minutes, it's actually too cold again. It has to be immediately. That's how it's meant.
And do you drink water? You drink water after it or before it? What's the?
Well, in Italy, you don't necessarily drink water. If you go to Vienna in Austria, you will have a glass of water. So
It's strange, because it depends where you go. In Australia, you probably wouldn't get water, but there's not a lot of espresso drinkers either that you come across in Australia, like where a cappuccino, latte, macchiato, society that that loves coffee. A lot of coffee snobs in Australia. Don't get me wrong, but but they like their coffee not so much straight up in a short glass. Which, like I said, I don't mind espresso. I might have a pod espresso machine here that I used to drink quite a lot of. Actually, started for me in France. I started drinking espresso. There was a little bar in Montmartre, and 20 years ago, I guess.
Yeah.
The kids were. I used to get up early, so I'd see everyone else drinking them. So I started drinking espresso in this little bar at the base of Sacre-Cœur Cathedral, and so I'd go over there every morning, and couldn't tell you whether it was good espresso or bad espresso, but it was. It seemed quite good at that stage. So that was where
and it did what it was supposed to do in the morning. You have to. It's to awaken your senses.
Well, it does. Like I drink a lot. I drink a lot of coffee. Actually, I probably have 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day. Most days, sometimes more. It's probably not all that good for you, but I get up early too. Like I get up 5 o'clock most mornings. So the first thing I do is have a coffee, and then I get to work, and everyone else is getting a coffee, so I have another coffee. And then someone might have another coffee at lunchtime. So I have this like long. Maybe that's why I don't sleep well. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. I remember once I was because if you work in an office environment, you probably drink a lot of coffee as well, because you have once I was working in an American organization, and I went to the headquarters in Michigan, and then I went into their big international sales office, and they had these huge glass cans of standing on a coffee machine. They stand there all day, just they're heated up all day automatically, and so the coffee is just not always freshly made. It could be hours after it's been made, and people just pass by, and then they pour another cup of coffee. But
it's like the percolators, the ones that just slowly drips into the glass jar.
And then I went to. There was no more coffee, and I went to. I was going to make coffee, and then I saw that the sachets of coffee grams that they coffee powder that would pour in to the filter, it was less than half of the amount of coffee that I would normally pour in. Yeah. So I just immediately took 2, double up. And just made the coffee just without, because I don't just want just colored water. I want a proper taste, the proper taste of coffee. And then someone said, someone half an hour later or so, whoa, someone has doubled up on the coffee. It's so strong. and I just said, I made the coffee, sorry, but I just had to double up, and I don't even think it's strong. It's still too weak for European standards.
Like someone spiking the punch at a dance, isn't it?
That was a bit of a golden moment. We laughed about that and then from then on, if the Europeans made coffee, you were warned that that the coffee would be strong. Yeah.
So I was reading today that they reckon that travel to America is down like a certain amount of percent, because of the Orange Man. I mean, I've got no desire to go to America even without him, but I find that
it's sad because there are lots of businesses that will hurt, will go down on this, even like family businesses.
Yeah, definitely.
And the thing is, I had no plans to go to the US anyway, and I certainly won't do in the foreseeable future. But it's not just Trump; it's the whole MAGA movement, because at the moment it's so unpredictable. You have no idea. When you go into customs, you go into the official registration where visa. You can be pulled aside and being confronted with stuff that you may or may not have said on the internet years back. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. It's for safety reasons. I'm not going to go.
People are not going.
No.
The whole gun thing, like, sort of plays on my mind when I think about going to America. Like, that someone can be just walking around with a gun in their back pocket. Why does anyone need to be walking around with a gun in their back pocket? Like, obviously in America you do, but not so much.
It has to do with the whole NRA, National Rifle Association, the whole lobbyism that's going on there. It's a different mindset. I don't understand it either, and it is a concern when you're traveling. Obviously, we went through the US we were traveling for 3 months. Through the US. I didn't really think about it as much, during our everyday travels there, but it was a concern. Deep in the back of my mind, I had that concern. But really, Mark, what I want to say about the Americans is that most Americans are very sweet, very forthcoming, very welcoming. They're actually intelligent people. They're actually kind people. I don't understand why it has to be the way it is at the moment. It's just so sad. It
must be terrible to live in such fear that you have to have a gun in your car, in your house, like everywhere. Like, to feel that fear that you think you need to arm yourself to protect yourself against your... I know there's violence on the rise in lots and lots of countries, but I would never think in Australia or never feel that I would have to carry a gun around because of that sort of violence. Not many people get killed in Australia. People get stabbed. Not many people get shot. Occasionally they do, but just for the fact that you'd feel that way would be crazy. And if you put yourself in the shoes of a police officer who can just walk up to a car and someone can pull out a gun and shoot them, you can see why police officers are the way they are in America, because someone can just go,
exactly,
I'm going to shoot because I don't like it. It's a whole crazy situation in America, isn't it? But I guess if the Donald thinks that China's going to blink before he does, I think he might be mistaken. So I think China is probably bluff on the tariffs, and that'll be it.
I think what we'll see is that the Americans, the US as a whole, they tend to think of themselves as being like the only superpower in the world. But what they are going to have now is that what they're going to see, if this continues being so unpredictable. I mean, we don't know in what mood the Orange Man is in tomorrow. So what will come out of his mouth, we don't know. But I think what will happen is that the rest of the world will just find other ways of interacting. We will do businesses together. There's talk here in the EU about letting Canada join the EU in some form or way, so that we can tie bonds more together. And even New Zealand has a free trade zone with Europe now. I think the same will probably come with Australia. And I found it was an odd situation. I found myself siding with China recently. It was just, what?
This is it, isn't it? Like, you go, well, mate, it doesn't matter. You can't bring manufacturing back. Like, it's not going to work. Like,
have you seen the memes where they joke about, the American workers assembling iPhones and electronic devices. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen. And people, the issue is people don't want to pay that price. This is why things are made in Asia, because we don't want to pay $3,000 for an iPhone. No. It's bad enough paying $2,000 for one, I guess.
Yeah.
If you have to pay extra for everything, so, and that's not going to make, Apple and Nike build factories in America to start making shoes and phones again. He's just kidding himself. It's, that ship has well and truly sailed for lots of countries, including my country, including Australia. We build nothing in Australia. We don't build cars in Australia. We don't build anything in Australia. We import.
That's the way we've sort of built up the global economy now. That's just how it is.
It's not just going to turn around and all of a sudden start building factories again.
No.
It's not for anyone. But it was no good for Australian dollar either. The Australian dollar went to the shit the other day, so I think it's bounced back a bit now. But the first day it was announced, I think we went down to about 47 British pence and about 52 euro cents or something like that for a dollar. So
that's a big.
So it wasn't overly nice. Luckily, I've got a lot of pounds and euros in an account actually in that currency. So if I ever travel, I'm all right. But yeah, for people wouldn't want to be planning a trip to Europe or the UK from Australia. It'd be good coming back the other way. If you're coming to Australia, you'd get plenty of bite for your dollar at the moment, or for your pound, or for your euro. But yeah, so it is what it is. Goes up and round and around.
Yeah.
Depending on
no, I mean it's sad because, as I said, the US is a beautiful country and it has so much to offer, but right now they're seeing that tourism is really probably going to struggle this summer here. I guess. I mean, it's because I've seen the headlines just as you have seen them in Australia. It's the same here, and the international headlines that I read, it's the same all over the place. He's unpredictable. I think sooner or later, even domestic politicians, even the fan base will see. This is not good for business. They must.
Oh, he was meant to make things cheaper. That was what his platform was, wasn't it?
Yes,
and
exactly.
Everything's got dearer. So
exactly. That's exactly what happened. We'll see how things develop. It's certainly interesting. Yeah. So how about that? When were you going to China?
No, I'm not going for a couple of months yet. So
still a couple of months out.
Until July.
Yeah.
Even though this year seems to be going really, really quickly. Like it's middle of April already. Like I think that just happens as you get older too, doesn't it? It just seems to take off quicker and quicker and quicker every year.
It's amazing. It's really amazing.
Yeah. And when you're in high school, you were like, bloody hell, school takes so long, nothing's working, nothing's going on. You get older and you go, fuck, where's the time gone? Like,
exactly.
Literally, don't you?
Yeah, it's really.
But I guess it'll be July before I know it. So it's about 3 months away. But I booked it 3 months ago, and it only seems like yesterday. So
yeah.
But things come around quick enough, don't they?
Exactly.
I reckon.
So what are you doing over Easter? Nothing. Just staying at home.
Nothing. I've got Easter off. I've got the weekend off, but I've got any plans. So because everything's really dear if you go anywhere over Easter. It's, because it's school holidays here are always over Easter. So,
yes. Yeah.
So all accommodation and everything like that will be dear because families are all travelling. So no, I probably won't do anything. I'll just be at home here. I might do some stuff around the house and.
It's the same thing here. We're staying at home, but it's the season for extended weekend travels here. So people usually go to the mountains. The hiking season starts now. So if you're an outdoor hiking type of person, this is really a good time from now on and until way into the fall. Really is really a good time for hiking in the Alps. In the European Alps, and there are lots of routes, marked routes, and there are some
people with their walking with their walking
Exactly.
poles.
Yeah, with or without the walking sticks, really.
Yeah.
But walking sticks are good for people,
Yeah.
wanting a little bit more stability. But also, I mean, the routes are going, and this is one of the things that I would like to do, probably will do with my wife at some point, actually hike from here in Munich all the way down to on the other side of the Alps and to Italy. To the northern
Very
Italy.
good. That sounds right.
Yeah. So it will be like probably 2 or 3 weeks. But
Yeah.
there are huts, overnight accommodations that you can
Excellent.
I don't even think you have to book all of them, because there are some way, it depends on how far you get on any.
I shouldn't say that. Actually, I've got a friend and I've got an uncle who walked the Camino. So,
Yeah.
in Spain and France or whatever it is. It all starts in France, doesn't it? And ends in Spain. So
Yes.
yeah, so that'd be a bit epic. I would think as a walk. But my uncle, he was a big walker. He also walked from one side of England to the other across Hadrian's Wall, across the top. There's a walking path.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's near the Scottish border, yeah, where the Roman wall used to go one side across England to the other. Because it's not that wide, England, like
No, it's not.
in some spots. So,
It's actually not.
yeah,
England
so
is smaller than you think, actually. Yeah.
definitely. But yeah, it's walking's your thing. That's certainly some good walks. Some good walks out there, isn't there?
I do enjoy a good walk. We do walk every day here, and it's the cheapest form of transportation, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
Your own feet.
That's for sure. It is.
So yeah, I'm fascinated with people, saying, I'm going to walk now. I'm going to walk out my door and walk to northern Italy. We have a friend, a lady who unfortunately she was injured, but last year her plan was to walk from Munich to Venice.
Wow.
Yeah, but she only got like a third of the way into the route when she fell and broke her foot. So she was not able to complete it. Yeah. But but I think she's going to do it again, to try again at some point. And I think that's because when you walk like that and for probably 25 kilometers a day, you get into a meditative state, and it's probably healthy for you. I think.
Well, I'd say so.
Yeah.
I'd say so. It's all about movement, isn't it? So.
It is, and I do tend to think better when I move. That's for me. It's a good thing to just if I've got too much on my mind, it's just let me go for a walk and things will cool down. It's usually what happens. Yeah.
Clears your head. I do that a lot when I'm driving the car. Like I'm very quiet. I'm always thinking, when I don't know whether it's just. Yeah, my place to think is behind the wheel, which is probably not good because I'm probably not concentrating on the road enough if I'm actually thinking about what's going on in my head. But so far I haven't crashed, and it must be all right.
Is that a thing in your family? Because in my family, when I grew up with my parents, we could all sit in the car, like my sister and me and my mom and dad in the front, and we could sit like going to visit the families in Jutland. It would be like a 3-4 hour drive. And we wouldn't talk much, and then in other families, if you don't talk when you're driving in the car, it may almost seem rude if you don't.
Yeah, well, I actually sometimes find myself having to make myself talk like to my wife, which just doesn't sound right. But like we could drive from here to Melbourne, which would be 2.5 hours, and I could probably happily say 10 words in the whole time because my mind would just be filled with other things that
exactly.
that I'm processing or thinking about, or I'll speak up when that thought maybe has then something to do with her, or I need her approval, or
exactly,
or some sort of common sense maybe from her, what I'm thinking to but other than that, no, I could just sit there and I'm often deep in thought when we're driving about places to go or what's going to happen or when we can do this or how we can afford this.
exactly.
What's
That's
going on with this?
and when we're driving, obviously my wife will always comment on my driving, so that's a bit of a annoyance.
As they all do, mate.
Yeah,
They all do, no matter which country they're from. That happens all the time.
And then if you've got like a GPS navigation system telling you to go take this route or that route, my wife will have a better route, obviously. Sometimes even my son and my mother-in-law will also have suggestions,
Yes. Not for sure. So Google knows nothing.
Exactly. Just ask your wife.
That's dead right. Sorry for that, female listener.
No, but it's really it is
very, very true though. Very true. Especially in our house, my wife reckons I'm the worst driver in the world, but we're still here. I haven't killed her, so
exactly. So, Mark, it's been another hour, and and we've come across a couple of topics that I will try to put into the headline of the show notes. Also, we are getting more and more listeners, but I haven't, for some reason, the statistics are not yet really. Maybe it takes a whole year. I hope not. But because I was thinking, after a couple of months, we should be able to get some statistics, but it's still just responding with not enough material to make a statistic. I have no clue what that means. Maybe nobody's listening.
It doesn't matter, does it? But
it doesn't matter.
If anyone is listening, please, follow us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That would be excellent.
So next Monday, Mark, is a public holiday here, and I won't be able to do that. But let's just text, and we'll schedule the next.
Later on in the week.
Yeah. Exactly. So you say hello to the family,
and you say hello to yours. Wish everyone a happy Easter.
Happy Easter to everyone. Yeah. Bye.
We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.